Greeting Blood Angels players, we've been waiting 7 years for a refresh of the Sanguinary Guard and also that upscaling slash demi Primarch version of the Sanguinor. So let's jump in today and see just exactly what we got and how exciting it all is. But yeah, in all seriousness, this video is going to be ranty as hell. Disclaimer, do not take anything that I say serious, and it's all my own opinion, okay? So no hate for me in the comments, and if you do, I'll find you and I'll hit you with one of those new sanguinary spears, okay? Right, let's go. So, hello guys, thanks for being here. I hope you are as excited about this new release as I am. Oh, excuse me, I think I'm in the wrong tab here actually. Ah, that's better. Okay, Blood Angels reveals angelic visions descend from the realm of enemies. I'm sorry. So get yourself strapped in for a somewhat ranty video. I know I like to be very positive on this channel, but we're just going to talk all over everything that we know. Let's get dived in with the Golden Host. So, when Codex Blood Angels was revealed, we saw the tragic Death Company berserkers clad in onyx armor, and what was tragic is the lack of Death Company shoulder pads that we're getting with that box. And as promised, more red and gold is to come. So with the stunning new Blood Angels captain and the Sanguinary priest, we've had a dose of red, so I guess that was our dose of red potentially. So there's rumour of assault terminators is maybe wishful thinking. So now it's time for Dazzling Gold, and if you watch the last few videos I made about this, we will play the video at the end and we can see these models in their glory. So, the most elite of Sanguinius' son takes flight, led by a resplendent saviour and with a divine visage. So this is an upscaled Sanguinor. Similar to Lamarta's last week, when Lamarta's had found time to go through the Primaris Rubicon, apparently so has the Sanguinor. I like the upscaling. He's very similar to what he was before, a little bit of additional detail on him. Obviously he is now going to be plastic, the wings are pretty grandiose. I'm not entirely sold with this face. I think he might have been better to just wear some sort of death mask, honestly. And that's when I decided to start jumping into the lore for the purposes of this video, and also just to remind myself, because it's a little bit while since we've talked about these, or it's a little bit while since we've actually had a codex. So the Sanguinor was rumoured to be one of the first ever Sanguinary Guard, and he appears when the Blood Angels need them most. He has been upgraded to this new Primaris version. He still has a sword, he still has the chalice. It's unlikely he has a melee weapon, and he descends from the heavens whenever we need him to smite enemies of the Blood Angels in times of dire need. The Sanguinor is a mystery shrouded in an enigma, wrapped in gold armour, capped off with sephoric wings. Beside his gleaming appearance and uncanny ability to intervene just when the going gets the tough, very little is known about the Sanguinor except that he spells swift and certain doom for his enemies. Some Blood Angels actually believe originally that he was named after Sanguinius the Primarch, and then others believe that he was that first Sanguinary Guard, but actually we don't really know. So the Sanguinor has returned, and we really thought as a community that he would be the perfect character to upgrade to almost like a monster style status, or maybe like demi Primarch I heard a lot of people talk about, but it seems that we get none of that. It would have made sense because obviously we don't have a Primarch in being dead, and we feel a little bit sad about that. But I guess he is now scaled to a Primaris Marine, and will be an enjoyable model to make and paint. He looks fairly decent. He has that custom jump pack similar to Astaroth's, but with slightly different wings. So the wings are once again built into the jump pack, and I think we're going to see that when we get to the Sanguinary Guard, that obviously these new jump packs are quite chunky, so it would make actually placing a set of wings between the backpack and the character very, very difficult. And I did do a conversion with Dante doing that, and it is nigh on impossible to get those wings sort of in between the jump pack and the body's model, or the model of the character, because you can see there's no space, right? Those big Primaris jump packs are hefty. So I guess let's come back to that, but for now he has little wings on these flaps. He has a blood drop on his backpack, kind kind of a nice little detail. So within the sacred pages of an ironclad tomb known as the Carta Sangorium, the Blood Angels record every instance of the Sanguinor's intervention, and attentive scholars have observed that his actions curiously overlap with those Commander Dante's. So usually he comes along when Dante needs him most, though any further revelation is yet to be divined, nor are there any closer to determining his identity. Theories of the Sanguinor's true identity are varied. I already touched on this. The Inquisition believe he was a manifest of the Imperium conjured by the Blood Angel's psychic will, and thus a proof of the deep flaw within them, while others contend that he's the spirit of, and I can never say this right, Azak-Elion. Azak-Elion? I can't say it. Preserved by the Emperor's grace. So I think overall, I think I like the new Sanguinor model. I think I'd probably try and change his head for a death mask. I know that this is what he looks like in the book, with sort of like the gold face and the gold hair. But I'm not sure I'm in love with this head. Maybe there's a better character that would... It looks almost a bit like Hulk or Thanos or something from the Avengers. I'm not sure it definitely looks a lot different from his head, the Firstborn head. Whether or not it's an upgrade, I'm not entirely sure. But the model looks cool. I think it'll be a lot of fun to paint. His sword looks pretty intimidating. And yeah, it's nice to see such a big set of wings. Honestly, I really wish that we would get wings on more characters for Blood Angels. Astaroth and the Sanguinor, I guess, are two. And then let's dive into new Sanguinary Guard. So these Sanguinary Guard are going to replace Firstborn Sanguinary Guard, and it definitely sounds like you're buying them in boxes of 3, which means you will be getting them in squads of 3s or 6s. So there's a lot to dive into on these Sanguinary Guard. So let's start with probably the thing that I despise the most is the lack of unique shoulder pads. And if you go through, there's 3 pictures here, and there's 3 pictures here. They all have standard Blood Angel shoulder pads on their left shoulder, and from what I can see on the right shoulder, it's sort of that standard one with just like a scroll on the bottom of it. So if you go back to the Sanguinary Guard sprues, I feel like that's already losing quite a lot. You know, you had them in the Firstborn Sanguinary Guard sprue, you had sort of like these spiked shoulders. Again, they're going to be difficult to do on those new larger jump packs unless you're willing to file bits off of them. And then all these other shoulder pads with extra wings, blood drops. I really like the feathered shoulder pads that we used to see with the Sanguinary Guard. There's 4 of them you would get down here. And then obviously you got the top bit of the banner as well, which was pretty cool. So, and then look at the helmets. That's another thing I really don't like. So it looks like we're going to have unhelmeted helmets, which honestly make even less sense for the Sanguinary Guard because they're wearing death masks. So they wouldn't take their death masks off because they actually provide a battlefield bonus. So even less sense than last week when we looked at like Death Company helmets. We now have these, and though I really think these look very Sigmar Marines. You know, the Age of Sigmar, people always call them Sigmarines. I forget. I think they're just the Sigmar faction. I don't play Age of Sigmar. But these are very Sigmar helmets. And they're all round with basically almost looking like they're bolted together. So I don't know if I feel like any of these are as intimidating, again, as some of those Firstborn helmets. Unfortunately, all the Firstborn helmets, of course, on the sprue are facing away from whoever took the picture of the sprue. That is the nature of the beast. But seeing this, and seeing those Primaris jump packs, and we knew that there was a very good chance that they weren't going to have wings, I think if money was no object to me, then I would buy Firstborn Space Marine Sanguinary Guard right now so that I have basically wings and Firstborn jump packs to put on these Sanguinary Guard. We've seen Firstborn jump packs on Primaris models before, and they do not look bad at all. I mean, the difference in the size of the jump pack isn't significant enough to really throw things off. If you think about it, right? Firstborn Marines share the same size shoulder pads and helmets with the Primaris Marines. So why would a jump pack suddenly make things look bad? I don't think it does. So let's dive into these models a little bit deeper and see what we can glean on first impression. So you still have the Angelus bolter that's wrist mounted. The idea behind it being wrist mounted was because they wanted to use both hands to swing their swords or their axes. I guess we are now on swords and spears, and I can kind of get on board with that. That's what Sanguinius used, was like the sword or the spear. He had the Spear of Tessalo, I believe. I forget the name of his sword. But so we still have the Angelus bolters mounted. We have some capes, which is pretty cool, or loincloths, I guess these are. We have some random blood drops. The Infernal Pistol, for some reason, is in his hand and has not been sculpted onto the arm. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, it's kind of weird, and I think it's kind of telling you only see one Infernal Pistol. So if you thought you were going to be able to field Sanguinary Guard with lots of Infernal Pistols like you can currently, I think you will field one per 3. The other 2 guys will have the Angelus bolters. Hard to say what their profile is. They've been assault weapons, they've been pistols, they've jumped around all over the place recently. Maybe they'll stay as pistols, because that would kind of make sense that they would synergize with the Infernal Pistol. But then the one other thing to say, and I think this is maybe why people don't like these models, is the proportions of these models are a bit strange, if you ask me. So what Sanguinary Guard had in one of the old codexes, 8th edition codex, was it said that they wore wrist-mounted Angelus bolters that leave both hands free from wielding a crackling and Carmite blade. And then each golden armor is a relic of the chapter. So I think possibly, and this was originally referred to a lot of the time as artificer armor, right? So like, to me, when you look at this armor, it looks reasonably thin and slender and sort of accents the chest, maybe, but maybe that's just how we've always envisaged it. Now what we have is, these are somewhere between Tacticus and Gravis legs, I believe. We still have that sort of accented chest. We have lost the nipples. I couldn't care either way on the nipples. I know that's actually upset some people. If you were sorry about the nipples, then let's pour one out for the nipples. Cheers to the nipples, okay? I don't mind that we don't have the nipples. The chest is nice, the shoulders are average, the helmet is average, the legs are very bulky, and I think that's maybe what's throwing people off when they see the proportions. And then I guess people losing the jump packs and the wings. There's a lot changed on these models when you compare them back to the sort of like heritage look of the Sanguinary Guard, where they did have both hands free, even with the Infernal Pistol, you know, those feathered wings. And if you look at the picture here, in this book here, this guy has the feathered wings. He also has some sort of like golden iron halo, and he's got a more spiky headpiece. Yes, if you actually check it, he does have some pretty boisterous legs. So the legs are not maybe too far apart, but seeing these just now on Warhammer Community and seeing the reception to them, I definitely feel like they feel like, maybe because the jump packs are so big, there's a bit of Gravis Marine coming through. This has upset people. I guess the loss of the wings, probably the loss of the 5-man squad, possibly the loss of the power fists, just everything. Like, people are genuinely quite upset about this. I'll probably reserve my judgment to what I see on the tabletop, but I do think that you're going to be wanting some third-party bits, or you're going to be wanting some old Death Company boxes and some old Sanguinary Guard bits. So now's the time to get them, because they're not going to be on sale for very much longer, and you're going to need them. But I suppose if you have those Sanguinary Guard shoulder pads from like the Firstborn box, you're going to have so much trouble getting them on with those big chunky jetpack backpacks, whatever you're calling them, jump packs. So maybe so it's going to be a rock and a hard place. You're going to be limited to which shoulders you could put on, simply because those big jump packs. If you are using the feathery shoulder pads, they're quite small at the edges, so I filed them a lot of times. I just use a standard nail file them off, make them better. But the other thing that's hard to unsee with these guys is that someone pointed this out to me, is they basically all have the exact same poses as the jump assault intercessors. So if you scroll through some of these guys, you might be able to find one that basically has the exact same body and leg positions as these jump intercessors. So I guess in terms of originality, like, I feel like these guys are like a 5. Like, there's not much originality in there. And then when you compare them to the Firstborn, I think they're inferior. Do you know what? The one big thing that is good though is by the time you take a firstborn model with his wings and you put him next to one of these guys, this guy is going to look no bigger at all, because the wings actually do give them a bit more of a profile, right? So when you put the firstborn next to them with the wings, they'll be the same friggin' size. So you can just take your firstborn models, you can put them on a base extender. Bob's your uncle. If you don't like these guys, you probably don't need to get them. So let's jump into it. Whatever the truth is, this legendary hero... Oh, well, we're still talking about the Sanguinor, even though we showed pictures. Hold on. Whatever the truth is of this legendary hero can only be in one place at one time, whereas the ancient veterans of the Sanguinary Guard fit into the Blood Angels battle pan golden bolts from the heaven that can turn the tide of battle with a swift descending roar. So, they are more chunky. I really dislike their headpieces. So hopefully... And here's the next interesting thing. So they say, tracking their heritage back to the Great Crusade, that's in the codex. The Sanguinary Guard are the chapter's most elite warriors. Their dwindling supply of relic armor, Angelus bolt guns, and unmistakable death masks have been retrofitted to work with the Tacticus Mark 10 armor. So they've taken... So someone can probably correct me in the comments here, but they've basically taken the Sanguinary Guard's artificer armor, or the relic armor as they've called it, and apparently it is being forged together with the tactical, or the Mark 10 Tacticus armor. Mark 10 Tacticus armor is basically just Primaris marine armor. So, and if we go back to the Devastation of Baal, and it's been a few years now since I read the Devastation of Baal, I believe all the Sanguinary Guard bar, was it 1 or 2 died? Maybe it was even all of them. But most of the Sanguinary Guard in Devastation of Baal died, meaning I guess they recovered a bunch of the armor. Because it was a relic from like the Great Crusade, maybe they couldn't repair it. Somehow they've adapted it to be part of Tacticus, and they've managed to gear up the new Sanguinary Guard, but they've lost a lot of their heraldry. I guess the lower excuse for this is that there wasn't that many Sanguinary Guard to have, so that the lore has kind of been lost or something. But I mean, Dante was still alive, and I'm pretty sure some of the Sanguinary Guard was still alive, or there's some veterans that could have taught some of these new Primaris Marines. So these are replacement Sanguinary Guard, Primaris Marines. They are now wielding spears, which are pretty cool. This guy here with a sword sticking straight up in the air is 100% modelled for disadvantage. So is this guy with a spear. So don't, if you're playing competitively, don't model your guys with their weapons sticking giantly up in the air like this. The top-down profile doesn't look too bad. I guess these little wings on the fins don't look too bad. But I think I am in the camp of I prefer the old wings. And if money was no object, I would buy said old wings. The new banner's pretty cool, that's attached to the spear, and I guess, like I said, the spears are pretty... They're more iconic, I guess, for Blood Angels, even though we've never been allowed to wield spears. If you look at the Dawnbreakers, they are essentially like the Blood Angels from Horus Heresy, or the Sanguinary Guard before they became Sanguinary Guard, I guess. And the Dawnbreakers cohort, they are a Horus Heresy model, these guys are in Finecast. But they have very cool shoulder pads. Some of these would probably fit onto Sanguinary Guard, and they also are armed with some special spears. What's going to be interesting is actually 5 Dawnbreakers is probably going to cost about the same price as 6 Sanguinary Guard now, so I guess if you really, really dislike the Sanguinary Guard and you don't know what to do, you can always grab some Dawnbreakers. So the shiny veterans leap into battle with their jump packs to shatter enemy lines, holding fluttering banners. So I think we're probably still going to have like the additional OC, like the +1 OC we get from the banner. From the chapter's earliest days, only released from the Arx Angelicum in times of need. Arx Angelicum is like a stasis field where they keep ancient relics, if you're not familiar. All 3 Sanguinary Guard have construction options, and I guess this is what they're saying. So bare heads or helmeted heads, but I mean, if the helmets that we see are the only options, I would say they're very middle of the road. I think there's definitely been better Death Mask and better Sanguinary Guard helmets released over the years. There's a choice of Carmite Blade or the newer spears, so it sounds like you might be able to give every model the spear or the blade, which is pretty cool. And someone can fly the banner. So these Radiant Warriors will join the rest of Sons of Sanguinius later in the year, alongside Codex Space Marines. So, initial opinions then on the Sanguinor and the Sanguinary Guard, I think, are very similar to the opinions that we had on like the Death Company, and in the Firstborn box set that's coming out. Is like these models feel very, very generic. not maybe generic in terms of rules, but generics in terms of flavor. You know, like if we go back and look at the picture of some of those Firstborn, you know, they had blood drops on their midsection, they had extra like parchments on their legs, they had little like blood angels iconography on their legs, on their belts, on their chest pieces. I guess you had the shoulders added a tons of customization. You also had basically inside the axes, they always had like the wings and stuff reflecting what they have on their backpacks. The helmets were a little bit cooler. You had space to write on them as well if you wanted to do so. So I think there's definitely an argument to get some of those old Sanguinary Guard kits. I know people have been buying up Firstborn Death Company like crazy these last few weeks. I myself bought Firstborn Death Company shoulder pads off eBay just this week. Because if I'm going to do more Death Company, I'm going to want them to be unique. I don't want them to be genericized or generic-y, and I guess that's what this release screams, I think, to me. As soon as I was linked this, my first opinion was I just didn't like it because of those reasons. The weapon options, I understand. The loss of all the Infernal Pistols and stuff, I understand. But I guess for me as well, it's another, like, at minimum 12 models into Legends, and at maximum 30 plus models into Legends. So from having like 12,000 painted points maybe like 18 months ago and being so proud of that now, I don't even know if I've got 3,000 or 4,000. Literally at this point, 75% of my army has gone into Legends. The stuff going into Legends alongside the new stuff that's replacing it not looking as cool is definitely a bittersweet pill to swallow, right? And that's why jokingly at the start of the video I put up a few pictures that I would basically saw across Reddit in the last few days, or in the last few days, in the last few hours. The Reddit, my Twitter, everything has been blowing up. The downgrade continues. How is it even possible to downgrade this hard? I mean, people just like the customization and liked lots of different options. And I don't think there's anything wrong with making your opinions heard, because here's the thing, Games Workshop could fix this super fast, right? All they need to do is make an upgrade sprue where they take those 10 or 15 Sanguinary Guard helmets from Firstborn and the Death Company heads from Firstborn and the shoulders from Firstborn. They could take all that and sell us like a Death Company / Sanguinary Guard upgrade sprue for 25 bucks with like 10 shoulders for both, 10 heads for both, maybe a couple of alternate weapon options for both that make sense, and it'll be fixed. It will be fixed so quickly. But I think that the way that Games Workshop works now is they have so many different ranges, they don't want to spend too much time on an individual range, and I think what that means is we lose a bunch of our heraldry or our uniqueness. And as much as I am the worst painter and the slowest painter, and when I see these guys with nothing on their chest piece, you know, no fancy wings on their chest pieces, no blood drops, no little decals on the legs like I just talked about, as much as I maybe hated painting all those things because I was super slow at painting, and I am super slow at painting, I don't think when I got to the end of it, I never felt like, oh, those leg things really bogged me down, I feel terrible about it. I think, if anything, it was the opposite. At the end of it, it helped break up a big section of gold on the model's leg or something, and it looks cool, and I spent time on it. And I don't, you know, like these guys literally have, like, heavy intercessor style legs. I know it says that they're Mark 10 Tacticus Artificer, whatever, but they're just bland to me. They're a little bit boring. I could find decals and bits, maybe, like purity seals, but not too much. You know, like those unique Firstborn leg pieces for Death Company, or even for like Vanguard Veterans or Company Heroes, all the stuff that has been phased out. I feel like we really miss it. And when I get, because I have all the boxes, right, Indomitus, Dark Imperium, whatever all those release boxes are, I always feel like when I'm building those new Primaris Marines, like Outriders, like Blade Guard Veterans, I do as many conversions as I can, right, to make them Blood Angels, give them shoulder pads or cut bits off, and you guys have seen my streams where I'm just hacking models apart to do conversions. But I always think that those are the generic Marines out of like the generic release set for 10th edition, and I'm okay that they're a bit more generic because they are for everybody. When it comes to the units just for me, I am not okay with them being generic. Even though it takes me longer to get them done, I generally just do not like this. But I'm excited to see the new rules, because the Sanguinary Guard have been really difficult to play for the entirety of 10th edition. You could barely put one squad of them in your list. In fact, for even now, like 18 months into 10th edition, they're still not a very optimal squad at all. Most people don't run them at all. So I'm excited to see, hopefully, that they... I mean, if they're wearing Gravis, do they get 3 wounds? They used to have more wounds than a regular Marine, right? Sanguinary Guard used to have 2 wounds when all the regular Marines had 1. Do they get an invulnerable save? People have been shouting out for years that Sanguinary Guard really need an invulnerable save because they're so expensive. So maybe now that they come in 3s and 6, we'll get better balance. And I have been saying for probably like 3 or 4 years, Games Workshop really struggled to balance Sanguinary Guard, because you either get armies with 30 of them or you get armies with none of them, right? There's no in between, or at least there was very little in between all the way through like 8th and 9th edition. It was like 30 go big on the Sanguinary Guard or go home, you know? So when you check out the Reddit, there is a couple. There is this like one guy that's got an appreciation post and someone saying we should wait to see the models in person. So I think that's probably fair. This is just my first reaction, but I do think that, like, just looking at them, my reaction is I want to give these guys some customization. I want to make them look better than they currently do. And if that's something that you are also interested in, then maybe in 2 weeks' time I'm going to be putting out a video about a collaboration with Grey Tide Studios. They actually sent me a box of pieces today for the Crimson Lords. I know some of you guys have already been checking out the Crimson Lords, so there's a video coming out. I'm working on the video right now. Here's the thumbnail. I like to make my thumbnails first because it helps me direct where my video is going, and it lets me... Sometimes if I make the thumbnail last, it doesn't work. So I like to make my thumbnails first. So here's the thumbnail. It's important to say these aren't whole models. This Crimson Lord upgrade thing is going to be additions, you know, like death with like jump packs with skulls on them, jump packs with wings on them, helmets with spikes on them. So if that's something you're interested in and you've never subscribed to my channel, then please do so, because I've got a collaboration with Grey Tide coming out at the end of the month, towards the 26th, so about 2 weeks from now. And yes, I think it will be important to see what options we can do for these guys to elevate them, because I think they will need elevated. And I guess here's the thing: if I don't need these jump packs with the wings on them for my Sanguinary Guard, because I can get some Firstborn Sanguinary Guard jump packs or some Crimson Lord jump packs, then maybe that means these ones with the wings could go on like an Assault Intercessor or Jump Intercessor Sergeant, or there's a Blood Angels Captain that has a jump pack, but or a Space Marine Captain that has a jump pack, but he doesn't have any of these little fancy wings on them. So I think that if you bought some Sanguinary Guard, and I'm going to buy some because I buy pretty much all the new models, I'm going to buy 3. Then that would give me 3 jump packs that could go on Assault Intercessor Sergeant or Jump Intercessor Sergeant, a Captain, and then maybe one for somebody else. But yeah, so I think that we're probably going to end up buying these. Like I said, the Firstborn models are probably going to be good enough or similar enough in size. Primaris Marines are usually pretty enjoyable to paint. I must admit that. The bigger size is very nice to work with. And I think maybe over time I will go towards having some more of these. But, I mean, it's good that they use the exact same weapons as the Firstborn, right? Like, everyone's got Firstborn with swords and Angelus Bolters. Everybody has that. Everybody has Firstborn Sanguinary Guard with swords and infernal pistols. So base extenders, I guess, will be your friends. And I really want to see one of these guys with Firstborn jump pack and wings on them. If you've got a spare Firstborn jump pack and you've got a spare Jump Intercessor, just put the Firstborn jump pack on him and see how it looks, because I think it looks totally fine. Maybe that's what I'll do in one of my upcoming streams. So yeah, I managed to throw a set of Sanguinor wings onto my Dante, and I guess when you see here just how little space there is between the body and the model, you can see why it would be difficult to fit any sort of Sanguinary Guard wings onto some of these new Primaris ones. Sorry this footage is so bad. It's from an old YouTube video I made when I was converting Dante and giving him wings. So, excited about new models, but upset that so much stuff has been legends for so little amounts of actual upgrades, I think. So I guess if you are, a lot of the Blood Angels flavor across the entire range has been lost. I said this in my last video, that maybe that means in the future there is time for like our range to bulk out. But at the same time, they did say they're trying to get rid of data sheets, right? That's one of the things they said about Space Marines. Like, Space Marines have too many data sheets. And we think that we're going to lose some data sheets in the new codex that's coming out as well. So this is where it stands. So, obviously this is pre-recorded, and you guys are going to be giving your opinions in chat, probably mixed opinions. Some people will be happy, some people will be sad. I feel like I could have been more excited. I will be excited when I see the rules. I always like getting the new models. I always seem to get at least one set of everything. And I mean, I think I will enjoy making these guys with spears. But I think if I only have the sprue that they come on and no upgrade pieces, as in like no additional shoulder pads or no better helmets, then I would not be that excited, because I think the flavor is being lost a bit. There's something weird going on with this guy's belt as well. I'm not sure if it's just the lighting here, but that looks a bit of... Oh, I think there's like a satchel in the belt. Okay, maybe just a bit weird with the lighting. So yeah, obviously this was live and you guys chatted all about it. If you want to leave me a comment on why you were excited, I'd love to hear it. If you're not excited, tell me why. If you're going to be doing some sort of conversions on these to make them better, I'd love to hear about that as well. And like I said, if you want to check out the Crimson Lords, and I'll probably do 2 videos on the Crimson Lords. I'll probably do a video explaining what they are, and then I'll probably do a video where I actually get all the pieces and the models out of that box, and take it one step further. So there's a lot to come up on the channel. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you do like my content, then please subscribe. I know this was a bit of a rant and all over the place, but I feel like I am a little bit over the place with the new Blood Angels models. While new Primaris is brilliant, the framing of it is not good. And I don't know how I get over that. I know it's not just me, right? Because, like, literally you go over to Reddit, in most of the posts, at least when I was on the hot, so everything that's getting upvoted at the moment is negative. There's very few people even linking, like, Age of Sigmar models that apparently look better. I don't play Age of Sigmar. I'm just kind of at a little bit of a loss. So, rumour is that the pre-orders are going to be coming in the next couple of weeks, and the other rumour was maybe we're going to find out about the Blood Angels Combat Patrol next week, which apparently is going to include 6 Sanguinary Guard models. So I guess we'll find out about that very soon. I'll be back to tell you all about it. If you haven't done any of the algorithm stuff on my channel before, then please do consider liking and subscribing. I do appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, so every new subscriber really helps. Live Battle Report this week is Wednesday night, back to our normal Wednesday night slot. We're playing Sisters of Battle, so hopefully I'll see some of you guys there, 7 PM UK time, Wednesday night. Have a great week, guys. Please leave me some positive comments, because there's not much positive to say on Reddit, and I will see you in the near future. By the blood are we made strong, and we need to be strong. Peace.